That was Melissa Cohn from MC Home Loans. If you want to talk to Melissa, call her at 844-667-7300. If you want to inquire about a mortgage or just ask a question to the entire MC Home Loans team, they would love to hear from you. You can also contact Melissa because I just like this website. I don't know how she's engineered this, but it's www.melissacohn, MELISSACOHN.mortgage, MORTGAGE. How she got that special website, I don't know, but I'm going to find out the next show. And call Melissa for any questions. Well, our next guest has been with us before, and he is another incredibly knowledgeable person on the subject of real estate, and he joins me with our producer, Tony Simone. Welcome, Niko Fedak.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We obsessively read your newsletter.
Thank you very much.
And
Yimby.
your website.
Yes.
New York Yimby, yes.
New York Yimby. So, Niko, what's going on in the outer boroughs with new developments? What can you tell me?
You know, a lot of people say the market is not heading in a good direction right now, but if you look at the city as a whole and parcel the boroughs out one by one, I think you see a lot of positives, actually, especially if you look out into the Bronx and down into Staten Island. I mean, year over year, so we put out a permit report each year. Manhattan was down 50%, Brooklyn was down 40%, Queens was up slightly, the Bronx was up majorly, and Staten Island was too. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening out there.
Okay, because in my old age now, I've lived in Manhattan for the last 38 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beginning to contemplate a move.
Okay.
If I can get a fabulous home
This is
bigger than
news.
bigger than the matchbox that I live in.
Right.
The crawl space that I have. So where can I go? You mentioned Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
I was, hate to admit this, my sister
Be nice.
doesn't like to say this.
We have
we
relatives
were
in Staten
born in
Island.
the borough of Richmond.
Okay.
I grew up my formative years in Staten Island.
Well, I think Staten Island is particularly exciting because there's going to finally be a big iconic project that New Yorkers can spot on the skyline over there. Around the St. George, you have the New York Wheel, which is now going up.
Oh,
That's
yes,
going
the
to
Ferris
be
wheel.
right. So that's going to be the tallest Ferris wheel in the world, I believe, upon completion. But besides the wheel itself, you have a hotel that's going up nearby. You have a new outlet mall going up there, and you have several residential complexes going up in the vicinity as well.
Is this all in St. George?
This is all in St.
Is
George.
an outlet mall coming?
There is.
Who
There's
doesn't
an
love
outlet
an
mall.
outlet mall?
I know, especially in Staten Island. And the Staten Island Mall is actually also getting an expansion too. So it's not just St. George where the excitement's happening, but I mean, all along the entire waterfront, you have revitalization happening, and even without a subway line. So you have direct ferry access from Manhattan, new apartments. I think it's
The ferry is pretty quick, too.
yeah, and it's great. I mean, who doesn't love a ferry ride?
Well, I actually went there a couple of years ago on Memorial Day weekend and wrote a piece on the USS Cole.
Okay.
And was given a private tour as a journalist there, but let me not digress. But St. George is like a quaint little city and one that should be celebrated more.
I agree, and it's great that it's finally going to be walkable. I mean, right now you get off the ferry terminal, and St. George is there, but it's not exactly accessible. So this will do a lot to mend the gap between the broken urban fabric of the St. George of old and the ferry terminal itself.
Do you know what hotel is going up there?
I don't remember which brand it is exactly, but it's going to be, I believe it'll be right next to the Ferris wheel itself. So you'll be able to go to the wheel and stay the night if you like. So
And then you've got and do you know who the developers are that are opening up the buildings there?
oh gosh,
That's
oh,
okay.
gosh.
I'm not
blanking on names.
This is
right
not
now.
an aha kind of
Okay.
question. Don't worry. We'll have that on the
We'll
next
have a
episode.
follow-up.
And so where else can I potentially live?
Well, I think besides everything happening all across the Bronx, downtown Brooklyn is happening right now. Long Island City is also booming, and Jersey City is too. So I think we may be seeing a slowdown in the core neighborhood of Manhattan and near like Williamsburg and Greenpoint. But if you look at downtown Brooklyn, you have so much activity happening there right now. And not only is our buildings going up right now, a lot is still coming down the pipeline.
Can I play devil's advocate
Sure.
a little bit, because I've wandered. I'm very lonely, by the way. I just wandered around alone, aimlessly through Long Island City a few times, and I felt it's a little more desolate than it should be for those prices.
Well,
Why are people paying these crazy prices?
It's changing, though.
yeah, I think people
They
see
have a
the
supermarket
potential.
now.
Right. The potential is there with Long Island City. And so if you look at the skyline over the past year or so, it has changed drastically. Every month it seems like there's a new tower going up. The borough's second tallest building just topped out on 4212. What is it? 28th Street by Heatherwood.
Are the goods and services though following as quickly? There's my question.
I think the buildings are still opening, so that's kind of the problem that we're seeing right now. So you see a lot of stuff going up on the skyline, but that doesn't mean the ground level retail is open yet.
Right.
And most of these projects, a lot of them are mixed use at least. They include retail on the bottom and then residential up top. So I think as more buildings open over the next year or so, you'll see a lot more of that retail come to life. And once that happens, I think the ground level will fill out a lot. So.
And they have great access to transportation.
Exactly. You have every
Yes,
subway
right.
line in the world going out over there. So
You don't have the L train problem. Not
No,
to be negative
no.
against Brooklyn, because
No,
we love Williamsburg.
yeah.
But, there is a rumor that they're going to shut it down into Manhattan. How are you going to get home?
Right. And then that also begs the issue of how Manhattan people are going to get to the PATH train on
Right.
14th Street, too, because they might shut down the L train in Manhattan for who knows how long at this
This
point.
show's
So
not political, but the MTA and the mayor have to rethink that plan.
I agree. 100%.
I agree, and I also think that here's a crazy idea: we open coffee shops, shoe shine parlors, shoe repair places, and anything other than ATMs, which is like the only thing we have now in Manhattan, and dry cleaners, all in Queens, and then everybody will move there.
Exactly. Great plan.
Right.
That may be some like a new Robert Moses
Right.
kind of idea.
Let's be nice. I grew up in Queens.
I
Queens is a
like
beautiful place.
Queens.
I like,
I'm
Queens is
I
great.
don't even. I'm
My
refer,
family
I
owned
guess,
a home there. Yeah.
I'm talking about Long Island City, though.
Right.
But I do look. One of the things I think that makes me contemplate a move is I'll walk by a place that was once like a favorite coffee shop, like Superg on the Upper East Side, which is now a Capital One kiosk or ATM or something like that, or a place that used to be a shoe repair that's now, I don't know, they sell cupcakes.
Yep.
I mean, that's.
Have you been out to Vernon Boulevard in Long Island City?
No,
or
I
no?
haven't. Tell
So
me
Vernon
about it.
Boulevard, that is actually where the retail scene is happening
Yes.
over there. That's kind of close to the waterfront, which was the first real development out in Long Island City. TF Cornerstone's new complex has recently finished their East Coast LIC. And so that has kind of bridged the gap between Court Square and the waterfront itself. And the retail over there, that has all the coffee shops you are looking for. So
Okay,
Yes,
because
they do.
Also Queens and Long Island City has a substantial number of television and movie studios as well.
right.
Steiner Studios.
Yeah, Steiner Studios.
When I worked
and
in government, we pushed for that, and it's a great thing. It's a beautiful place to eat, beautiful place to visit.
Astoria Studios. I also play the weatherman on the Onion News Network, if I may plug myself a little bit. You can follow me at Rob M. Taub on Twitter. And it was so easy to get there and take the subway over and then shoot the show and also eat inexpensively.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's important that we talk about the outer boroughs because there are a lot more options. And if we can catch up in terms of infrastructure, we could be more like a city like London.
Right. And I think it's also just taking advantage of existing infrastructure, too, because, I mean, as we said, all the subway lines already go through Long Island City, so why not put buildings there? I mean, as long as they can handle the additional capacity, I think it's a great thing.
I tell clients all the time, don't expand your horizons. There are a lot of
Right.
places you can find, to afford to buy a new home if the neighborhood suits your needs, and you have to make some compromises. We can all live in the West Village,
Right, exactly.
but there are little villages popping up all over Manhattan and Inwood and out of borough Queens and Brooklyn. There are lots of lovely places. You have to determine your schedule, how long
Right.
you want to commute to work,
And you can get more for less, too. I mean, if
Right.
you go to Long Island City, you're probably going to live at a glassy new tower with amenities and the whole shebang. Whereas
Yep.
for the same price in Manhattan, you're not going to get the glass tower with all the
Here's
amenities.
another thought. If you're spending $15 million for this spectacular view from Manhattan, you're looking at Brooklyn and Queens. You could live in Brooklyn and Queens and get the really expensive view of
Exactly.
Manhattan for a fraction of the cost.
That's exactly right.
So
And I
call
know-
Tony
yeah.
Simone.
I know a lot of folks who've done it. They rented in Long Island, so they love the view, and then they wound up buying something.
The views are spectacular.
Lots of my friends who worked in government bought in Astoria.
Right.
A lot of folks. That's where my father grew up. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful place to live. Diverse, great places to eat. Trains.
Close to LaGuardia
We're a big
Airport.
city. We're more than Manhattan.
Right,
We have
right.
5
We're more than Manhattan.
boroughs, 8-point-some million people, and plenty of new construction everywhere.
And I
Okay.
think, oh, sorry.
I want to give a plug to the Louis Armstrong Museum in Corona, Queens, which is really fantastic.
They just opened a new building, I believe, actually, or they designed a new building, and we posted about the designs for that. It's very exciting.
It's really a cool thing to do. You can go to Louis Armstrong's house, the house that he lived in when he was the most popular entertainer in the world, and he lived in Corona. And there's a little park. He bought the house next door and knocked that down and built a park, and they have jazz concerts there.
In the warm weather, you can stop at the Corona Ice King, right? They're still there, right? The Ice King, I think so.
I don't know. I'm
pretty sure. They're
go
still
to you
there.
guys on that.
They're still there.
So what about, okay, let's change gears a little bit too, because you mentioned the
Mhm.
Bronx or the South Bronx.
Mhm.
My grandfather owned the Poe Park Pharmacy on the Grand
Okay.
Concourse, which was known as the Champs-Élysées of New York back in the day. And can that be true once again?
You know, I think it's definitely going to be true once again. The Bronx was burning in the 70s, and now it's on fire again, but for good reasons, not bad this time. I mean, if you look at the permitting process and the number of building or units that have entered the pipeline over the past year, the Bronx was up, I believe, 60% or so year over year between 2015 versus 2014. I think developers are now pushing towards a lot more affordable housing, which definitely benefits the Bronx because you have a lot of land purchases that happened at affordable price points, so they can be developed at prices that aren't absolutely absurd. But even the market rate development in the Bronx is relatively affordable. I know we profiled one building by the Stag Group last year, and they had, I believe, 2 bedrooms renting from like $2,100 a month or so. So, I mean, if you are looking for a 2-bedroom
Really?
apartment, yes,
Where's
exactly.
that? What was that location?
I don't remember the exact address. I'm pretty sure it was South Bronx, though.
What about, have you looked at any of the buildings on the Grand Concourse? Because they actually are grand old, like if you get a 1-bedroom apartment in a building on the Grand Concourse, it actually will have a formal dining room.
Right.
It's not like a 1-bedroom apartment where, you know, they go, you can fit a table there. It's
Right.
the size
Right.
of a matchbook, but
Yeah.
you could still fit a table.
But I think
these
that's
are
what New
big-
Yorkers, they're seeing that now. So, I mean, I specialize in new development, but I do know some things about older developments and pre-war buildings. And I think the potential in the Bronx, that's of the existing potential that's there, people are seeing that now. It has great transit access. So many subway lines go up to the Bronx, and you can easily commute into Manhattan. I think it's the most under-realized borough of the 5 in New York City. So,
Oh, Nico, I didn't give you a big enough introduction in terms of telling everybody about your website. So give us some info on New York Yimby.
So New York Yimby is the go-to resource for new development news in New York City. We say yes in my backyard to new development. We have Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook if you want to follow that way too. And it's www.newyorkyimby, that's YIMBY.com.
I subscribe to it, and I learn a lot every day, but not as much as when you join us in the studio. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll have you on again soon.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Nico.